Hi, my name is Tony Zambito. I'm the owner of Groupe Zamco out of the greater Montreal area, and I am proudly a hardscaper.
So, Tony, tell us, how did you get into hardscaping here?
Well, my family's always been in the business since the 70s, actually. So I grew up in this business. I grew up in the industry. They say you don't know anything else. For us, it was normal. I mean, going in the spring and pulling out equipment, starting up the machines, cleaning the tools, that was a normal spring cleaning in our household. My grandfather started a company back in the 70s, and then my father was part of it, also my uncle. So, I mean, it's always been a family business. And from 8 years old, I've been working alongside them. I chose to work alongside my father, my grandfather. While all my friends were out, playing in the park, swimming in the pool, having fun, I was carrying wheelbarrows and, believe it or not, cutting pavers. I mean, 8 years old, my grandfather put a quick cut in my hand and said, cut. And I was like, no, it's cool. Like, I'll just carry the wheelbarrow. And he said, no, we have a ton of employees. They were big crew. We have a ton of employees that could carry wheelbarrows and then do all that. He goes, you're a Zambito, you're going to cut. Which is insane when you think about it now. But, I mean, I'm really grateful for it because, wipe your tears and start cutting. And, long story short, this is where we got. So I had the advantage of getting into the business at a young age with a ton of experience that usually you don't have, at 21 years old. So that was a major advantage for me. And, I learned a lot. My grandfather used to take me on sales calls, mostly to use me as a pawn, as in hey, look at my grandson, Yeah. You're going to say no to me? This kid, you know what I mean? It's, and I learned, sales methods, I guess that would not work in today's landscape at all. But he did teach me the confidence of just, if you're confident in your product, the rest will come. So I learned that from my grandfather, which was fantastic. And my father taught me everything else about the business in the sense of, he wasn't afraid to put me in, behind the wheel of a backhoe, at a very young age. Obviously not on the street, I don't need the cops coming to give me a ticket, 20 years later. But, but, he wasn't afraid. We're in the yard, it's, in that spring cleaning, have the backhoe over there. Just getting comfortable behind the wheel of big machines, using the arms in an area where you can't damage anything or hurt yourself. It allowed me to never be afraid of machinery, never be afraid of the size of a machine or anything like that. I mean, if it has four wheels, it's all the same. So all of these things, that's how I got into it. It just became a lifestyle. It became a passion. I didn't want to do anything else. I went to school. I went to CEGEP, college, depending on, where you're listening from. Quebec, we call it CEGEP. But I mean, I did all that. This is what I was born to do. I could not see myself doing anything else.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We haven't had somebody on who, has worked in their family business, and it's a part of their lives growing up and everything like that. We've only interviewed people that it's their first generation. They are the first ones doing it in their family. So it's fascinating. And, growing up in your family business, what you've seen a lot of change in this industry then. What's been the most fascinating thing to you that has changed throughout your time in this business?
Oh my God. It's been a roller coaster. So much has changed. I mean, I remember, back in the day, it was Trias was the paver. You know what I mean? It was, that was the modern take. That's what you had to put. I mean, we're talking about I grew up in a time where pavers were literally just a portion of the industry. A lot of the industry was still asphalt. You know what I mean? That's what my grandfather, my father specialized in. And my father was the first person in that company to lay pavers. It was a new thing. What are these interlock? Why They were literally putting down concrete and like fresh concrete and just sticking the pavers in it. They had no idea what to do with these things. Now this was before my time. These are like stories that I've been told. But then, I mean, I watched the industry change in such a drastic way. People were putting pavers on their front lawn, their driveways, their walkways, more as a luxury, not because of the durability, not because of any of the technical aspect of it, but really more of a flex, sort of, just to show off and say, like, yeah, I have money for this. Mm-hmm. But the majority of it was asphalt. That's what it was, because they got the job done. Gotcha. Backyards were patios. You know what I mean? It was a patio, because you need to put a table somewhere. In Montreal Italians, it was concrete. It was just cement. So like if you had pavers, you were doing well. So that's all it was. But now it's shifted in a way that people have nicer living spaces outside than inside.
Yeah.
And it's become important to people, and we're in such an exciting time in the industry right now, where we get to create living spaces. We get to create a lifestyle for people, and not just put pavers down so they could put their patio table, but we're building a patio table for them. We're building a kitchen worth more than a kitchen inside of the house. We're building benches, fire pits. The laws around wood burning are so strict now. We're putting natural gas, propane. We're working alongside contractors that have never worked alongside landscapers, hardscapers. You know what I mean? We're bringing all of this together and creating like a unified construction industry. We're calling in sub-trades that back in the day they would have never even dreamed of calling, being on site. So it's exciting. I find we're in a very good time right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And with working in the family business, eventually you started your own business. Can you give us a little bit of a timeline as to when you started your business and what made you want to start this business?
Yeah, so although my family's been in the business since the 70s, my grandfather had retired about 10 years prior to me starting Groupe Zamco, and my father had stopped the whole hardscape aspect about 5 years prior. So, we were starting fresh. Like, it was a brand new company. It was a really tough time too. It was back in 2011. Me and my wife had just gotten married. We just got the great news that we were going to be parents. Like, there was a big risk. There was a lot on the line, man. It took a lot to take that risk and to jump into something so big at such a fragile time. And, we really just kind of scraped together whatever we could to start the business, and we managed to put something together that was, we were able to go out there and work, so that was back in 2011, 2012. And so this is going to be our 10th hardscape season that we're going to be starting now, which we're really excited about. And the progression over the last, I'd say 9 years, because this is our 10th, has been insane. Like night and day, every year there's something new. It always feels like, you've advanced so much, and then every season you just get that boost again, and you advance even further and further, and it's so crazy. This roller coaster, just like, where are you going to go? Where are you going to end up? Mm-hmm. So timeline, it's been, it's been crazy. It's been really crazy. But, like I said, growing up in the industry definitely helped me, but, it was a struggle. We started this business like anyone starts a business. We didn't have much. We had to go out there and, get contracts, and then, basically we had to get work without a reputation. Because it didn't matter, what my grandfather's company did, my father's company did. That didn't matter. That didn't help us. It didn't give us any kind of credibility. Nobody knew who we were. So we had to go out there and knock on doors, just like anyone starting their business. And it was tough. Like, it was really tough. I think the first season, we probably did, I think it was 3 projects. You know what I mean? But it's not like we were land as well. It's not like we were cutting grass or doing anything like that. It was, our income was solely from hardscape projects from the beginning. So we had no choice but to go out there and hustle and get those projects. We never wanted to do anything else. And, we're talking, the way anybody who starts a business will vouch, like, it's tough. You try to, it comes down to, if you got to pay the machinery or take a pay, you're going to pay those machines because you need them to continue making money. So it was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle. And I was lucky enough to have, an amazing wife that really, she understood the vision. I mean, we started this business together. She's been I didn't have the business when I met her. We started this. This was our sacrifice. So I was lucky enough to have a partner who stuck by me and saw the vision and saw what it could be, as opposed to, all the stress that came with it, didn't impact us, the way it normally would. So, she helped me fight through this and become what we are today. And I mean, it's great to look back on that. I hope that my kids never have to experience that. I'm hoping to build this for my kids so that they have something concrete that they could take and turn into, a monster, like explode it, with all of this backing them. So all the benefits that I didn't have, I'm hoping that they have. So yeah, the same conversation that your kids will have with my kids in 2035 or whatever. 40. I'm hoping that they don't have as much struggle that we had, but yeah, I want them to be successful. And the story's not over.
Absolutely. And you touched on so many different things there that are really interesting, and kind of leads into my next question, or at least you covered it a little bit there with, how did you get to where you are now? Because I see on Instagram the amazing projects that your company's churning out there. I've seen the space that you guys have for consulting with clients, and everything that you do to present yourself to your clients, in terms of, I recently saw not too long ago, you have a big screen TV that you hook up your laptop to be able to show them the designs that you're turning out. So obviously you guys have got something incredible going over there. How did you get to where you are right now? What were those aspects that allowed you to get you from 2011, where you started as this scrappy company, to where you are right now?
Like I said, it was constantly evolving, because how we spoke before about how the industry has changed so much from, back in the 70s to now. And I'm third generation watching this. Just since 2011, from when we started to now, the landscape has changed so much in the industry that we had to evolve along the way. So obviously, like in 2011, 3D renderings were out there, but nobody had them. Nobody did it, right? So that's a big aspect for us. It was right off the bat. My wife studied interior design. So, we started, she kind of pushed me to look at landscapes in a way, almost like interior design, right? It allows you to think outside the box. It allows you to see it from a different angle, where you start to really push the limits. And that's what we did. That's really, I'd say, what set us apart. The office space is a new thing for us, right? I had the pickup office. It was like the cab of my truck was my mahogany office, right? So the new office space is great. Over the years, we've hit different clientele, right? And now we're in a very high end market. So you can't present, a plan saying, "Hey, look, this is a loose leaf, and I'll put you a landing here and a patio over here and a flower box here." And when you're asking someone for six figures, you can't present it that way, right? Mm-hmm. So we needed to evolve. We had no choice but to evolve in order to accommodate the clientele that we were trying to get. And that's when the 3D came in, right? So the 3D rendering, we've tried a few, there's not one that's better than the other. It really depends on what you're comfortable with. But the 3D renderings really changed it for us. That's what switched it up. And then it became, okay, well, instead of me bringing my laptop to your house and showing you on the laptop, which was already great, it gave us a major edge. It was like, okay, now come to us. Come to us. Let me show you your project in the way that your project deserves to be displayed.
Mm-hmm.
So it really just became, come, sit at the office. We have a conference table, and everything in there. What's really awesome is it's built from scratch. Okay, yeah, we have like 2, 3, like IKEA units, but our main units are all built from scratch. Gotcha. Even if it has nothing to do with Hardscape, I wanted custom. I wanted something that we built with our hands.
Mm-hmm.
So like as you see that table, right? Like you've been following us on Instagram, that table there, my brother-in-law's a welder, so he welded it up. We got the tabletop, and now we put it together. It's just like if you're going to sit at a table in a Zamco office, it cannot be something you can buy in a store. That's right. The way I see it. Right? So that's it. And now, we're going to have a full showroom in there. So It's not just going to be about displaying the 3D rendering. It's going to be the whole process. All right, I came to your house now, first visit. I see, heights. I see what I need to see. But now come to us. Let me show you what I've put together for you. And at the same time, we're not looking at materials in a catalog. As great as the Pecco Block catalog is, and you the amazing pictures, and you get an idea. There's nothing like feeling that paper in your hand. So that's what it is. Basically, we've just evolved alongside our clients. Our clients no longer want to look at the pictures. They want to feel. They want to touch. They want to see in person. So that's what.
Yeah, and you touched on a couple things there that I want to kind of focus in on right here as we move into talking a little bit more about your business. You talked about how you've kind of evolved into this, say, higher scale clients that are doing a lot more and require a lot more in terms of, displaying and having an office space that really shows the project for what it is. Has this always been a calculated step in the business for you, Tony, where you had a vision and you wanted to get there to get to these types of clients? Or has this kind of evolved over time, and year after year you've kind of adjusted and made your way to this type of clientele?
Honestly, like I said, it's been a ride. We've every hardscaper wants that type of clientele. It's only normal. But we knew what we wanted. I wouldn't say that we became to accommodate that type of clientele. It's that type of clientele came to us because we became what we became. But again, it just kind of happened. I mean, honestly, the project that gave us the biggest boost, I'd say, is actually our own house. Like my own house, it was. My wife wanted black pavers, and I'm like, I was fighting her on it. I'm like, no, it's not, I don't want to put black pavers. It's going to be too dark. It's going to be, we were doing nice stuff back then, but we weren't doing what we're doing today, and my wife's like, no, this is my house. Like, I want black pavers. And any smart man knows when your wife says she wants black pavers, you put black pavers. Like that's it. You know what I mean? So I said, sure. Whatever. Worst case, it doesn't look good, and I'll have my crew rip it up, and we'll restart. Like, I have the advantage to do that, right? And I'm like, okay, sure. You want black papers? We'll put it. No problem. And so the black driveway with the kind of piano key design that we had done, that was at our own house, and that went viral. Like everyone freaked out on it. And what happened is that. I'll also give credit. Yes, she was right. All right. So she was right. It looked awesome. But once that went viral, it became so exciting. It became so exciting to put content out there. And that's really what it was. We were just having fun. Quality was always a top priority, no matter what. We said, if we're going to build it, we can build it nice, but it has to be strong. So as long as our quality is there and everything is built to last, then let's just have fun with it. And that's what happened. We were literally just going with the flow, having fun. And then it became like, okay, well, we did a lot of work in one specific area. But a lot of the houses were similar. So it was very important to me that the landscapes, the hardscape projects outside were not. Right? I didn't want it to look like mushrooms, like one boom, 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 one after the other. I needed, the way I saw it was, okay, just because your house is similar to your neighbors doesn't mean that your driveway and patio, all that should be. It should be unique to you. This is where you're going to get your personality. And that's what we did. And we were lucky enough to have a whole neighborhood who basically, first, second, third, by the fourth client, they were basically giving us just like carte blanche. Like, guys, you know what? I trust you. Everything you do, I like. So just go for it. It'll be nice. And that's what we did. And then, it built a portfolio. And then, people are sharing it and liking it and commenting. TechnoBlock, got behind us and said, hey, Bobby reached out like, hey, I love your work. He started to share our stuff too. And that is so exciting. When you have a major manufacturer sharing your work, it just became almost like an addiction, right? You just want to get content out there. You want to keep building. With that, the clients came, because then we became known for unique one-off projects, and the rest is history.
Absolutely. And I like that you mentioned that, like, you built the reputation for your business through your work, through your craftsmanship, through your designs, and that's what attracted these clients to your business. And which brings me to my next question here is, from the very beginning of your business to now, you acquired customers obviously in very different ways. What has been the most powerful way to bring in leads to your business, do you think?
Well, we were never big on marketing. So I know that there's very calculated ways to get clients. That wasn't our approach. Not saying it's bad. It works for a lot of people. It was never our approach. We went by word of mouth. Everyone knows that word of mouth is the strongest type of marketing, because it's marketing you cannot buy, right? That's because I always said that, an ad or whatever the case may be, whether it's an ad or a sponsorship or whatever it is, it's a bought plug. I never wanted that, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, TechnoBlock shares us a lot. There's nothing there other than just sheer respect for the trade. They respect the trade. They have a vision. They saw where we were going with it. They love what we're doing with it, and they want to be on board. So they share our stuff. We didn't pay for that, right? So that was important to us. It was, as long as we're putting something good out there and people are talking about it in a positive way, that's all we wanted to do. And that's what's worked for us. The clients came. I have one client last year that literally said, he had one contract to do his backyard. He didn't know about us at the time, but he had a very bad experience with his backyard. So then, I'll never forget this story. The wife always brings it up, that they're in bed, they're sleeping. She's asleep, but he's on his phone. He's on Instagram. And then he just goes, babe, wake up. And she's thinking, she's thinking something happened. Oh my God, what's going on? He goes, I found the guy. I found our hardscaper. And she wanted to kill him. She's like, I was sleeping. He woke me up for the driveway. She's like, unless someone's stealing the car out of the driveway, like, don't wake me up. But it was like, when he told me that story, I was like, damn, that's awesome. Like that excitement. Like, he came across our page and that was it for him. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. So that a lot of our work comes from social media, and word of mouth. I have people that reach out to me all the time, like, hey, I love your work. Do you work in this area? And if we do, then, gladly we go, but we get requests everywhere, so that's really exciting that we have the opportunity to build outside of the province if we decide to. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think social media was a major tool for us. Flyers and that don't work in today's world. You have to get directly to the client, not their door. You know what I mean?
And And Tony, obviously you've created something here that's bigger than just the name. You've built this brand, and I like to say that I can be scrolling through my feed on Instagram and recognize somebody's work without looking at the name of it, because it's just synonymous with what they're doing. Like Sean from Premier Outdoor, it seems so easy to recognize his work because he's built this brand around it, and Richard from RC Outdoor and yourself with Groupe Zamco. So my question to you with all that is, ha, have you had help with creating this vision, this brand? Because you talked about a little bit there about not being too interested in marketing, in investing, in trying to bring in these leads. Rather, you'd go about this word of mouth way, this longer route to creating this brand. Have you had help with creating this brand, this vision, or is this all from you, all from your own understanding of where you want to take this?
My wife is an interior designer, and she's a big part of Groupe Zamco, of what we are, what we become, what we are to be. Because like I said, I mean, she also puts a woman's perspective on it, right? When you're sitting at a kitchen table with a couple in their house, or you're sitting in their office, or whatever the case is, you're selling to the wife. You're not selling to the husband. At the end of the day, it's you. When you have a one-sided opinion, it's very hard to tailor to your clients properly. So, definitely my wife helped with that. The vision itself, I mean, back in 2015, we just kind of rebranded. You know what I mean? It was like a tacky, like bulky logo, and then big on the trucks and all that. And I don't know, that's not what we want it to be. We want it to be finesse. We want it to be luxury, clean line, So we remade our logo. We rebranded completely and said, from here on out, and that's about the time when we really started to push design. So, along the way, yes, I had a marketing specialist put together our logo, our new logo, and all that. My mind was in the old school, like that big bulky logo. But aside from that, everything else that you've seen along the way, all the designs, these are all in-house designs. So I'll sit on my computer for hours, sometimes just staring, not sure. I'll play with something, then I'll remove it. I'll extend the patio, shrink it back. I'll just keep changing it, and sometimes I'll say, hey, my wife, can you, what do you think? I don't even know what to do here anymore. And, she'll say one thing that'll trigger. Or sometimes she'll come up with a whole design. So yes, definitely, between me and my wife, it's a joint venture, right? So, you can't do this on your own. It's evolving too quickly to do it on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings me to your sales process. So obviously when somebody's contacted you, they know Groupe Zamco. They know the name, they know what they're going to get from you. So you've kind of warmed them up already to what to expect from you. But what do you do when somebody contacts you, whether it be through email, through a phone call, through your website, whatever it may be? What do you do? Where do you take that initial phone call and set up the first meeting? Can you walk us through that process a little bit?
Well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We get requests. A lot of our requests, obviously nowadays, people don't really call anymore. It's mostly online emails, through our contact form on our website, or Instagram, a lot through Instagram. Initially, I always ask for a phone number because I prefer to speak to a client directly first. I still have that kind of old school. I'm hands-on. Right. I like the interaction. So I always speak to a client first and kind of just get the understanding of what their project is, what they want to do. I'll ask them, okay, first of all, where do you live? What area? And that gives me an idea, if it's something is feasible for us or not to begin with. And then ask them, is it a new development? Because there's so many factors at play. But once I gather that information and I understand what the project is, then what I'll do is I'll ask them to send me their certificate of localization, with, if they could, a few photos of the property. That always helps. And I'll schedule an appointment with them on site at their home. I'll go there, discuss with them a bit further. But already at this point, we've discussed, what they want to do. But at that point, I will hand them a tackle block catalog, tell them to go through it, look at the products, kind of get an understanding of the materials that they like. And I'll see any kind of issues that may arise as far as the neighbor's land, the height of the neighbor's land, or a pool, or whatever the case is. From there, back then I used to go back. So up until last year, I used to go to the client with a 3D render and kind of run through the process and all that, make adjustments for them right there on the spot, and then either sign the contract with them immediately or give them time to, if that's what they want, give them time to think, and then come back and sign the contract, or send them by email, have it signed. Now it'll be a bit different in the sense that with our office space, first meeting will always be the same, but the second meeting, clients will be coming to us, right? Like I said, they'll be presented their project. Then they're going to, instead of just looking at the catalog, they're going to feel the materials. They're going to touch the materials. They're going to see the physical materials. And then from there, again, they're going to have the option if they want to sign immediately or they want to think about it. We have a zero pressure sales tactic. We don't believe in pressuring the client into signing. If they want our services are there. If they're not, if we're out of budget, or if, sometimes the vibe just isn't there, cool. Like, we have no problem with that. You know what I mean? It's, and everyone goes on their way and the door's always open, and we leave it at that. But yeah, that's basically in a nutshell what our sales call looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting into that a little bit, do you charge for your consultations right now? And then before that second meeting, have you taken payment for the design, or how do you go about all of this?
I don't charge for consultations. Honestly, I try to keep the consultation short, because the way I see it is, now people know who we are and all that, so I have to adapt to that. Whereas, before we were kind of just going off of, I didn't charge for consultations. I didn't charge for 3Ds. I didn't charge for any of that because I needed to build a portfolio, right? I could have either spent money in marketing and tried to get my name out there, or I could not charge for plans, not charge for these things, get the projects, build them, take the pictures, put those out there for free, and allow that to get into the clientele. So that's the way I decided to not invest in marketing, but to invest in my projects and let the investment on the projects return, because marketing will only give you a return during your marketing campaign.
Right.
Whereas a project, the pictures of a project are there forever.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned there in your first contact with the customer, you asked a lot of great questions, and one really piqued my interest there. You ask, is it a new development? That kind of tells me that maybe you service an area where there is a lot of new development going on, but also brings up a whole different aspect of quoting a job, of understanding a job a little bit more. Can you talk a little bit about why you asked that question?
That is a marketing technique, right? That is a sales technique. If it's a new development, first of all, if you've already been in that development, the second they give you the address, you don't need to ask that question, But let's say it's a new development that you are not aware of, or that you haven't gotten into yet, then you want that project. You know what I mean? You want to put your name there. You don't want to miss the boat on that project, because it's not one home. It's not that one person that wants to renovate their home. This is an entire neighborhood of homeowners, new homeowners that need to finish their exterior, right? Not to say there's anything wrong with the renovation aspect. That's great too. These are people that are refinancing their homes to really invest into their properties. So that's a great market as well. But you want the new developments. We do a lot of new developments. Also, our style is tailored to the new style of homes, these modern, square, that's those style homes very well with our style of hardscape projects. So that we tend to get those that they reach out to us because they've seen through other new developments, because, someone who's building a home, they have driven through 5, 6 other developments shopping for a home prior to building their own. So they've already seen your lawn signs. They've taken down your information before signing a contract to build their home. Right? So it kind of gives you this whole aspect of, you kind of understand where the client's coming from. And yes, like I said, a new development, you want to get in. So the first project, you will be a lot more competitive. But then after that, you stick to your pricing because you're giving quality. You know what I mean? You are, but you just to, you kind of bite the bullet on the first one and get your name out there, get known, let the neighbors call after. That's always worked for us very, very well.
It's very strategic, and especially when you're doing a quote, not just a new development, but just taking a drive around the area once you get a quote that piques your interest. I've done the same thing in my business where I had a call to an area where it needed some, like, definitely a nice area, but definitely the driveways were all interlock and they needed some updating. So yeah, like you said, be competitive on that first quote to get in that area, because then your work will speak for itself and it'll expand from there. So I love that you talked about that. Really smart, really strategic way of getting into those new builds.
Yeah, I think it's crucial to any business. It's like I said, you could chase a bunch of renovations, and when you get them, they are great, and they're a ton of fun to renovate existing properties. But a new development is guaranteed work. Like, they need to do it. I don't know about elsewhere, but here in Quebec, we're actually obliged. We have 2 years. From the date of delivery of the home, we have 2 years to complete the landscaping. We cannot leave it on aggregate. So they have to do it. You know what I mean? It's granted, that also creates a market of people that are obliged to do it. And obviously, when you're buying a house, it's no mystery. When you're buying a house, you're tight. I mean, you just invested so much money. So it is hard. It is hard to invest so much more outside. Home builders do not, they don't address that. They want to sell a house and then it's a surprise. Like, what do you mean? Because an average exterior is between, I'd say, 5 and 15%, depending on how out there you want to get and how much you want to invest. But it's between a minimum of 5 up to 15-20% of the value of your home goes outside. So relative to the size of the house and the cost of the home, obviously. Luckily for us, the newer developments that call us are larger homes, and they know they're calling us for a reason. So we don't really deal with that now, but we did back then. Like I said, we didn't have the reputation. We didn't have a leg to stand on. So it was really just putting ourselves out there and hoping that they would, get on board. But then getting into the new developments, we were able to, expand our design and push those boundaries. And like I said, this one area gave me a big opportunity to really show what we could do, right? I had to be very competitive at the beginning. And then at the end, never gouge a client, never. You know what I mean? It's just that people say, oh, well, I'm going to get it. No, never gouge a client. Be fair. Because when you gouge a client, that gets out, right? Always be fair with your pricing, but charge what you're worth at the end of the day. Charge what you're worth, and that's fine. Like, by the end of a project, once you get in, you could charge what you're worth if you prove yourself. And that's what we've done in every development we walked into.
Absolutely. So we talked a little bit about your sales process, getting the first payment from your customer, but nobody is in business for 10 years, coming on 10 years, without a little bit of horror stories in their business. Something that went wrong, whether that's in the installation, dealing with a customer, or dealing with payments. Do you have something like that you'd want to share with our audience to kind of warm them up for something that may come up in their business, or even prepare them to how to avoid it?
Oh, my God. Well, any hardscaper knows mistakes are expensive. Like, they're expensive, whether it costs you in time, because at the end of the day, in our industry, we don't sell products. we sell labor, whether it costs you time or it costs you physical money, a breakdown or whatever it is. I mean, I'll be one thing. It sounds very redundant. It sounds like it shouldn't have to be said. Guys, check your oils in your machine. Like, it sounds like something that should not have to be said. I've probably spent about 20,000, if not more, 20 to 25,000 in engines. I swear to God, this is no word of a lie. About 20 to 25,000 in engines due to lack of oil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because the thing is, you can only do so much. So the thing is that understand that you could only do so much and you could only be so observant. So you have a crew, give them the responsibility to give everyone a responsibility for a few machines. I'll say that. That's kind of what I've learned is, give everybody a responsibility for, let's say, the skid. You're responsible for the skid steer, the excavator, and the diesel compactor. You are this truck, and this truck, whatever the case is. Because when, engines run low, these guys don't think of that. They're thinking about going to work, they're thinking about the project, not thinking about the oil in the engine. And that's not just engine oil. That's like all maintenance. Just do your maintenance because those pieces of equipment need to be on the road. Don't have extra machines instead of investing in doing the proper maintenance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's one big thing. Then aside from like that is obviously, like you said, clients, with payments and all that. I actually got this advice from, everybody knows Pay Repeat, from Tackle Block. Everybody knows Pay Repeat. And if you ever get the chance to sit and talk with him, the man is an encyclopedia of this industry. He will tell you everything you need to know. It's one thing to be told, it's another thing to listen. Listen to anybody that tells you anything, whether you think it's useless or not. Just listen. Anything you could take from it. So, I've had, lunches and all that with Pete. And one thing he told me was, like I said, charge what you're worth. Know that. Second of all, take proper installments. I used to take very small deposits. And then I was like, yeah, but whatever. I don't like taking big deposits because he's like, well, why? If the client's really engaged, they'll give you that deposit. Take the deposit. Show yourself how engaged your client is, because there's nothing wrong with taking a 10% deposit. Don't take a deposit and spend it. You know what I mean? Keep it as a deposit, but take that deposit so that way at least you're covered. Then once, like we have a very, we try to always be covered for what we are doing at that moment, right? So once material shows up, excavation is done, and all that, like we're ready to start building, we've already collected 60% of our project, right? But again, we've collected 60%, but to cover our costs, because if you calculate excavation, material, all of that, you are at 60%, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then after, I know my clients, I've been lucky enough to never have a problem collecting a penny. Right? I've been very lucky in that aspect. But again, I've never given a client a reason to hold money, to hold a payment. Right? Now, if you are not doing what you promised, then I'm sorry. Unfortunately, you don't deserve to be paid the money that you've asked for if you're not providing the service that you promised. But if you have to be careful, know your client, but we've never had that problem. But definitely take enough money to cover yourself along the way if you are unsure.
Right.
Right. There's nothing wrong with asking for what you're owed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And great advice. And yeah, I like that you brought up the equipment thing, because I know from following you guys on Instagram, you've also had a little bit of trouble with theft and with breakdowns during this winter. So obviously all of these things really add up, and you talked about, charging what you're worth and knowing what you're worth. All of those things really need to be factored into your estimates, your quotes that are going out there.
Of course, it's crucial. Look, at the end of the day, this is a very hard job. You could love it. I love this industry. I love what I do. I wake up every day with an energy. You know what I mean? This is, I don't want to do anything else, right? But if I wasn't making money, this is a very hard job. You know, they say do what you love. That's fine. And yes, do what you love, but make sure you're making money doing it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So definitely, you know, charge what you need to charge. Charge what you need to charge, so that the way I see it is, you're not charging what you need to charge for yourself. You are charging what you need to charge to provide a better service to your client. So your client's winning. And that's not a lot as long as you implement that. I will charge what I need to charge, but I will give the client every penny's worth. You know what I mean? So that's a big aspect, I think.
Absolutely. Now, getting into different things that you're using in your business in terms of equipment, in terms of any installation products, tools, anything like that that you're using in your business that you want to talk on a little bit to let guys know that this is out there, they should have this in their business?
I mean, I feel like this goes without saying, but paver manipulation tools. Mm-hmm. There are so many amazing tools out there right now. They're not cheap, but they're worth their money. They're worth every penny because you're saving your guys. You know what I mean? Labor is an issue nowadays. That's no secret. Anywhere, it doesn't matter. It's not just in my area or in Ottawa or in, I don't know, even the U.S. There is a problem everywhere with labor, a labor shortage. We have tools. We have pieces of equipment that minimize the need for that labor. Invest in it. At the end of the day, you're going to pay someone a salary, right? If you buy a piece of machine that's going to save you a salary, then do it. It only makes sense because that machine will stay with you. You don't have to negotiate with that piece of equipment to stay with you, right? So at the end of the day, like, you know, Pave Tech and Pave Tool make amazing tools. Now, we're talking about small scale, you know, clamps. They have some amazing vacuum machines. I've invested in all those. I think that they're fantastic. We use them every day. With pavers getting larger and larger, these Techoblock released these new 900 by 600 slabs. 900 by 900 slabs. That's 36 inches by 36 inches. That is a big slab. Heavy. Let's say for whatever reason you install it and then, you know, something happens, someone's walking and for whatever reason it gets stained, that it cannot be removed, or it cracks for whatever reason, or you chip it. Try getting that slab out without proper equipment. You are going to spend so much more money damaging every slab around it to get that one out. Have the proper equipment, you're going to save time, you're going to save money. Now that's in a sense of one breaking, but just installing. Your guys, at the end of the day, of installing slabs like that, their backs are finished. The next day, they're not as productive, or they don't come in, or in an even worse case, they end up on workman's comp. Now, you lost an employee. So definitely invest in the proper tools to facilitate your guys' job, facilitate your job, your project, and that money comes back. It's an investment. You're not spending money, you're investing it at that point.
Absolutely. So, closing out this interview, I've got two more questions for you, Tony. And one is, you know, following around online or anything in your personal network, do you have any mentors or people that you get inspiration from that you'd want to shout out, or anybody that's really helped you along the way in your business? Techoblock
got behind us in a major way. I mean, back in 2008, they reached out to us to build their showcase project. As a lot of people are aware, that was an amazing experience. We learned so much, and it really put us out there on a nationwide level, right? So like, we were known locally. We were known, I'd say throughout, between here and Ontario, we were very known. We had a presence in the U.S., but the second we built that showcase, I mean, a lot more people knew who we were, and it was exciting. Going to Toronto and people seeing the truck and seeing, you know, me with the hoodie and coming up to me and saying, "Hey, oh my God, I love, you know, the project you guys built." And asking me questions about it, that was a lot of fun. So Techoblock made that possible for us. So definitely a big shout out to them. And they're changing the game with these new products that they're releasing, which is what's inspiring all of us to use them. Right? They're showing us ways to use these new products, not just saying, "Hey, here it is, do something with it." They're showing us ways to use them, and also showing us ways to maximize our profits using them as well. So yeah, definitely shout out to the manufacturers. For me, I prefer Deco. I think that they're doing a lot.
One last question for you here, Tony, rounding out this interview. Since 2011, when you first started the business, and even beyond that, when you were working in the family business, I'm sure you've learned a lot of things about owning and operating a company. I want to put you on the spot and ask you one thing you wish you'd known from the very beginning, from starting your company in 2011. What's that one thing that you know now that you wish you'd known from the very beginning?
I'd have to say, know your limitations. You know what I mean? Don't let it stop you, but understand what they are, and delegate properly. Like, know that you could only do so much. I was trying to do everything, and it held me back. Whereas the second I start putting confidence in people to do the job, as well as me, or even better than me, when I understood that there's people out there that specialize in things, it really allowed me to grow as a contractor. So yeah, definitely know what you're good at, specialize in that, and bring on the right people to do the rest of the job. Everybody wins. You win in time and money, and your client wins in the quality of the product. So I think that's the biggest thing that most contractors fight with. You want to do so much. You want to have your hands on everything. You can't. So understand that there's a ton of very talented people out there. Utilize them. Give them the opportunity to show you what they could do.
Absolutely. Tony, thank you so much for joining us here. You provided a lot of great breakdown as to how you operate your company and a lot of great advice to everyone out there in the industry. Thank you so much, Tony. And let our audience know where they can find you online, where they can reach out to you.
Well, we have a Facebook account, and obviously at Groupe Zamco. That's group with an E. Thanks to our language laws in Quebec. Groupe Zamco on Instagram. So obviously we try to put out a lot of content out there as much as possible. We try to make it educational as well. So it's worth a follow. I mean, it's just one click away.